We live in a generation where Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, or whatever you may use has become the center pinnacle of our lives. And I kind of like the saying moderation, do things with moderation. One thing with social media nowadays is we've become so dependent on it that we can't go our day without it. We can't enjoy life. We go through a lot of anxiety. Whenever we're on it, we'll just keep scrolling. We can find ourselves hours into it. What I like to do is something that I call a social media fast. So what that means is I stop using platforms that I find that might give me a little more anxiety. So for me, the platforms that I stopped using was Instagram and Facebook. I check them once a week simply because I still get messages on Instagram and also to keep up with current events that are going on around the city. I check it once a week, but when I go on it for like 10 minutes. And today's video, I wanted to explain 5 reasons why you guys might want to go on a social media fast. Now the first one, and this is probably something that you'll notice instantly, is you get more time. One thing to know about social media platforms, these brands spend a lot of money just to figure out how to keep you engaged. That explains why sometimes you'll be on Instagram, you'll be like, I'll check it for a few minutes, and then you'll find that you're still scrolling on the explore page, or you're still just scrolling, and you can't seem to understand why you're still on it. So these platforms, they're meant to be addictive. They're meant to keep you on it. It's like if you're selling a product, you want to figure out how to maybe upsell the customer, or you want to figure out how to sell to the customer again so that they come back. You want to keep that retention rate in. That's why the retention rate is just so high with these platforms, because they just keep you in. So one thing that you get out of just stopping social media is you get more time. You'll find that you'll have all this free time, and you'll be like, I have all this free time, what do I do? And for me personally, when I quit social media during the summer, that's the first thing that I notice. I get more time in my day, and a lot goes on, and I'm just like, okay, well, now I have a lot of time, so what should I do? So that's the reason why I work harder. That's the reason why I go to the gym more often. That's the reason why I make more videos. That's the reason why I'm just more focused during the summer, simply because I'm not on social media. Like I still post on social media, but I don't actually engage with anything that goes on social media. The only platforms that I engage with is Twitter and YouTube. YouTube because I don't go on YouTube that long. I go on YouTube, I watch some videos, and then I kind of switch off. And Twitter is kind of where I keep up with things that are going on. Twitter's not that spot where people show their lives and this and that. It's more like a platform of communication. One thing you're going to notice is you're going to have a lot more time in your day, and it's actually going to help with productivity in a lot of ways. Like you'll be surprised how much you can do, and it's honestly a really, really good benefit. For me, I like I said, I get a lot done during the summer. They're like most of the big things that happen in my life, it happens because of the summer, and because of that, it enables me to really have a good fall and a good winter. The reason why things go relatively well for me, I like to take a step back from everything. I like to read more during the summer. I like to do a lot more research during the summer. I like to learn a lot more about things during the summer. I do all these things, so that is my personal thing. But obviously you as a person, you will have to figure out what you want to do with that spare time. And honestly, if you guys want to understand what I mean, just get off social media tonight, and just you'll see yourself in this space where you're just sitting there and you're like, what do I do? You'll actually have to be creative with what you need to do with your free time. So number 1 is you get more free time. Now number 2, and I think this is probably the main reason why I quit, to be honest, during the summer. This is the main reason why I quit during the summer. Basically, your mind is more clear, and you just don't have as much anxiety that you develop when you're actually on social media. If you guys are especially on Facebook and Instagram, what happens is your mind starts to absorb all this content, and you start to see people smiling, you start to see people with their success in their lives, you start to see their wins, You start to see them maybe with a car, you start to see them maybe in a relationship. And when you get out of it, you start to sort of feel a certain kind of way. And that way, you're not envious, but you kind of feel like, man, like I should be doing more. And it actually gives you a sense of anxiety. Personally, when I go on Instagram or Facebook, when I see professional athletes, when I see maybe actors, when I see YouTubers especially, maybe if I see a friend that's really doing well, and obviously I'm happy for that friend, but on this at the same time too, it makes me feel like I'm not doing enough and I need to step up my game. And as a result, I actually have anxiety after, and I actually feel sometimes even discouraged. Part of the reason why I wasn't making YouTube videos was I was just discouraged because I was seeing all these YouTubers doing really well, and I saw them like, there's a lot of YouTubers that I look up to and that I kind of aspire to make my videos like. But because, I see their current like wins, I just feel like, man, like I'm losing out and I'm not really living to my full potential. So it actually takes away a lot of anxiety. And because you have a lot more free time, like you're not scrolling, you can use that free time to actually feel accomplished, and you can actually do things that really matter to you. What matters to you is really up to you. And I find that when I'm not on social media, I'm not absorbing all this content, sometimes there's some drama that goes on. Sometimes there's things that are being shared that has nothing to do with you. I don't feel mentally tired as well. And one other thing about quitting social media and having that clarity is because you're not absorbing all this content, you will feel a significant amount of energy. When you scroll on social media, you start to get tired because you're absorbing it, and our minds are not designed to absorb all this stuff. If you think about it, back in the days, like we absorb a certain amount, but nowadays there's so much out there that we absorb like so much. So if you're on Facebook especially, you have your friends, you have your family, you have acquaintances that you maybe met once, then you have people that you don't even know that you just have on your account, and you just see all that stuff. Sometimes it's political, sometimes it's sports, sometimes it's this, it's family, it's this. So you're absorbing all this, I would say, meaningless content. And after that, like I said, sometimes you'll feel unfulfilled. Sometimes you will just feel like you're missing out. Sometimes you'll feel mentally drained simply because you're just consuming so much content. So that's the main reason why I quit social media during the summer. One thing, like I said, you'll notice is you'll have less anxiety, and you'll also feel a sense of clarity and a lot of energy just from it. Now the next one is you see the reality of life. Now with social media, it's basically a screen, and you're looking at everything through that screen. So because you're looking through that screen, you start to kind of take it like it is a reality. And when you start to see people smile, you start to see all these different posts, you start to see all these things that that's just that you're just consuming. So what you get out of this is a sense of escapism, because you're immersed in this world, and because you're in this sense of escapism, when you get out, it's kind of like you're in this reality, but you haven't fully accepted that you're in the reality. And when you're in the reality, whenever you feel like maybe you're a little nervous, or maybe you're feeling a certain kind of way, you can go straight to your phone and go just scroll. So if you're hanging out with some friends, maybe you're feeling a little anxious, maybe you're feeling a certain kind of way, maybe you're feeling a lot uncomfortable, you'll just go straight to your social media and you'll just start scrolling. When you actually start to quit social media, what you get is the reality of life, and things are not as easy as it seems. There's a lot of struggles, there's a lot that you have to deal with, there's problems that you're gonna have to solve, there's work that has to be done. And one thing that I also recommend is, if you guys are working a job, when you guys go on break, don't go straight to your social media. Don't just start scrolling. It's okay to maybe message your family, or maybe message some friends, messaging, you can do that. But don't start consuming content, because you're just escaping, and then once you get out of it, it's like the reality hasn't sunk in yet. So it can really affect your mood. It kind of gets you away from the reality of life. We all have to realize that nobody's perfect. We all have to realize that nobody has a perfect life. And when we're not using social media, we kind of see things as they are. we kind of understand a certain situation. And like I said, we have more free time, so we're able to really understand and maybe even solve those problems a lot quicker. And yeah, so escapism is okay for certain, scenarios, certain situations, but it has to be in moderation. It can't be the number one route when something happens or something goes wrong. I know a lot of us tend to do that. I tend to do that as well. I tend to go on maybe Instagram and then I just go on the Explore and I start to scroll. It's something that we should all be wary of, and something that we should all understand, that we're actually here and that we should make the most out of while we're here. And instead of taking a step back, we should start to stay present and stay balanced, and sometimes even take that further step. Now, the next one, and I know a lot of you guys probably struggle with this the most, is comparing your lives to others. Now, believe it or not, this is something that I think we all know. Every single person is different. We're all different individuals. We all have our own skills. We all have things that we excel in. We all have things that we're weaker in. We all have our own mindsets. We all have our own beliefs, and that's what makes us us. Now, with social media, what happens is we start to look at what this guy's doing. Maybe this guy has a certain career. Maybe it doesn't even have anything to do with what we want to do, but we see that they're making a lot of money. And sometimes we see someone's family. Maybe we see that they have kids. Maybe they have a relationship. Maybe we see that, someone's excelling. All these different things, it kind of accumulates, and we start to compare ourselves to these types of people. And this is something that is a huge, huge problem with today's generation. We feel like we have to be at a certain standard. Now, what we don't realize is maybe this person that has this career and they're making a lot of money, maybe they don't like what they're doing. Maybe they don't like their career. All we're seeing is them smiling. Maybe we see them maybe throwing cash. Maybe we see them buying a car. That's all we see. And maybe sometimes, maybe it's not even real. Maybe it's rented. Maybe it's maybe they're in debt. With the relationship, maybe the relationship isn't working. Maybe the relationship is just a social media relationship where they smile when they're on social media, but in reality it's not a real thing. We see this all the time with YouTube vloggers who vlog, and then after that they break up and they start to tell people how it wasn't actually real. It was all pretty much fake, and when they opened the camera, they showed a certain type of persona, and then after that, when the cameras turned off, it was completely different. Something to be wary of. Do not compare your life to anybody. Obviously aspire to be like certain types of people that you look up to, that might be doing something that you're really passionate about, but that's more like mentorship. Don't compare your life to the point where you're like, I'm not enough, where I can't do it. I'm just not good enough. Pave your own path. Really understand that you are a different individual. You're living a different life, and you have to understand that what you do might not be similar to what someone else does. So that is something that I would highly, highly recommend. When you quit social media, you stop comparing your life a lot more, because you're not on it, and you don't really know what's actually going on with a lot of your friends. You can still check your social media once a week. I still do that. Like, I do it for like 10-15 minutes just to keep up with things. But if you're always on it and you're just looking at what other people are doing, then you start to forget that you as a person need to do something yourself, and you need to excel in whatever you're trying to excel in. So don't compare your life, but also realize that not having social media in your life is something that you will notice, that you're just going to feel like you're more focused on you're more focused on your life, and you start to understand yourself a little more, and you're more focused on what you really want to do and your goals. Now, the next one, and I think this is just like an overall thing, is life just becomes more natural, like things just become more real. And it kind of goes back to everything that I mentioned kind of all coincides together. Things just feel more natural when you quit. You just feel you're more in tune with reality. You understand that there's struggles. You understand that this person might be going through something. You understand that you might be going through something. You understand that you have goals. You understand that not everything is perfect, and you kind of understand the reality and what's actually going on with life in general. So getting out of social media is something that, like, it kind of gives you that incentive, and it kind of gives you that sense of understanding about everything around. That is something I highly recommend. I'm not going to go through too much on this, but whatever you're currently going through, if social media is a reason why you're going through this career path, or maybe that you're going to go travel, or maybe if it's that reason but your heart says no, then I would highly recommend just go on a social media fast. You know, you don't have to do it all summer, you don't have to do it for a week, maybe not, maybe just a day, maybe just a few hours, but just try it out. And honestly, like, I do it every once in a while, and honestly, guys, sometimes when I do it, I don't go back. You know, I don't feel a need to go back. You know, even with Facebook and Instagram, I haven't had the urge to go back to them, and it's it's great. Like, it's honestly great. In the meantime, let me know what you guys think, and yeah, please share with your friends if you guys found it valuable, and let me know what platforms you plan on quitting. And yeah, I guess I'll talk to you guys in the next vid. Thanks. Be a visionary, be a lion, and stay authentic. Peace.